Good morning, everybody. Happy to see so many of you, especially here. So, we're getting ready for the next session, and yes, we're running a bit late on schedule. The following session is not actually what it says in the program. It's not about the big search engines. No, it's presented by a big search engine called Google, and the title is Cross-Media Plan, the Cross-Media Path to Profitability. Please, Maciek Sugula, please come forward. Give him a big hand. He flew in from Amsterdam this morning, beautiful city. You're stationed in Warsaw, Poland, and just some some background information. You started working at Intel, and now you're a Google Partner Manager.
Yes.
So we have in the timeline it says 30 minutes. We're asking Maciek to talk in 20.
Sure, I'll try to keep it short and sweet.
Okay, big hand to Maciek.
Well, good morning. I know that you guys have been sitting for the whole day, so before I start, I have a little exercise for you. Do you know what a high five is? Yes? Okay, so I'd like to stand up, to ask you to stand up. All right. And give some high fives to people around you. Can I have one here as well? Very good. Cool. Thank you. I hope that this will help you going for the next few minutes with me, and then I think there's another presentation afterwards before lunch. So what I would like to talk to you, well, as the theme of the conference was cross-media, I just thought that it's good to relate to that. And as I was listening in to some of the earlier presentations earlier today, it seems that we are all talking about very similar things. So the first thing that is kind of worth observing is that, you know, the customer's path to purchase has drastically changed over the last 10 or 15 years. I am part of the millennial crowd, and I do wake up with my smartphone. I go to sleep with my smartphone. I try not to use it in other places that were mentioned. So, you know, in the past, if the advertiser, or if you wanted to go to, go after customers and actually drive some business, you know, you would build some awareness, and that would then lead to customers actually getting interested and, you know, considering different options and maybe making some phone calls and visiting a store and then asking for a quote. And then this would kind of go in cycles, because if the quote wasn't really what they expected, so they would kind of continue searching for even more information, you know, going, visiting places, and then they would place the order and they would make the purchase. Well, unfortunately, this doesn't look like that anymore, and as I guess from what was mentioned in the presentations earlier, it was also described that this path is much more complicated, and there's many more sources of information that people tap into, and there's many more stages along the purchase, the purchase path that really customers interact with, or you are able to interact with. So, you know, at the moment, the web, the internet, is really the hub of where people get the information from. And if you look at some statistics, you know, at the moment in the US, actually YouTube has a higher reach than any standalone channel that you or cable network that you can sign up to. 88% of people with whom we actually talk, they say that they trust online recommendations and online reviews as much as if they were actually personal recommendations. We see that 82% of consumers turn to their mobile phones when they are actually in the store to help them make a product decision. So you probably find yourself doing that as well. You can, if you're in the store, you're looking at a shelf at some products, and you actually, you know, take out your phone and check what people said about it. We also see that, you know, 34% of research and buy decisions are actually happening on smartphones, and that is increasing both the number of searches that are happening on the mobile devices and also the number of transactions that are happening on mobile devices. One of the things that is preventing people from buying more on mobile, well, one of the things is trust. People are a little bit reluctant to make that purchase, but on the other hand, if you want to buy something on a mobile phone, it has to be super, super simple, because otherwise, because of the size of the screen, because of how you interact with the device, it is much more difficult for you to make the purchase you're less likely to accept any difficulties along the way than you would on the desktop. So that's why it's important, and I will talk about what does it mean for you and your customers later on. So, there is this different places where people interact with the brands, with businesses, and Google is one of the largest, cross-media measurement providers in the world. You know Google Analytics as Google Analytics is one of the free tools that customers can use if they want to actually track track what is happening with their website, what is happening with their campaigns. We are expanding and adding more functions that customers can benefit from, right? And what are really the three key driving, three keys driving this cross-media impact for your businesses? The first thing is that the small business customers need to show their consumers that they're actually open. So they need to be really present online. They need to focus their campaigns, especially if they don't drive online transactions. The way the campaigns are run, they need to be designed in a way that they drive foot traffic to stores. And then all of that has to be measured, and there are actually new features coming that will allow you to track, or that will allow the customers to track the impact of online searches on in-store visits, right? And that's kind of basically by us utilizing the information about that is kind of available on Google Maps, on store locations, and basically where people actually go with their smartphones. We see that about a third of customers that made searches on mobile devices basically visited a physical store location and made a purchase within the next 24 hours. So, when it comes to, so what are the Google products behind those things that really allow your customers, or allow you to do something for your customers? Show consumers that the SMBs are open, are present. There are search ads. There's Google My Business that can be used. There's Google Maps where if you link, so where basically those businesses do appear. You have local extensions. You have local targeting for the ads that can be applied. Driving foot traffic for the SMB stores, exactly. That's basically using the fact that if you correctly manage your presence online, you are able to pop up when consumers search for information, when they use the map to actually get to your locations. And then on tracking, on the one hand side, it is Google Analytics. On the other hand, these are the new features that were recently announced by us of actually tracking the impact of online advertising on store visits, and also linking that to the actual store sales. So how can you actually help your SMB advertisers succeed in this complex environment? Well, first of all, you need to kind of embrace the fact, we all need to embrace the fact that mobile is transforming small businesses. A lot of the small business advertisers, or small businesses in general, if you ask them, do you think that customers look for information about your business on their mobile devices? They will tell you, no, they don't. But actually the research shows that a lot of them do. So I guess it's our job, and it's your job as well, the jobs of your salespeople, to make the small businesses realize that if they want to continue to get more business, to get more customers, they need to be smart about how they manage the presence, not only physical but also digital, and also on mobile. The world has drastically changed, and I'm sure that this has been mentioned earlier before. We no longer go online to look for information. We actually are online all the time. And in the past, there used to be like advertising to anybody was actually, first of all, it was a little bit limited to large advertisers, because you had few TV channels and few publications that advertisers could use to deliver their message, and that almost kind of guaranteed that 90% of your target group actually got the message. Now there's more channels, TV channels, online channels. There's more websites and different sorts of publications than anybody could consume in their life. So this makes it very difficult for advertisers to really be there for their customers. At the same time, it actually presents an opportunity, because users are searching for specific types of information, specific points during the day. And we call them micro moments. They were mentioned earlier. I will talk about them a little bit later on. But basically, those micro moments are the opportunities for the brands to really interact with the consumers when they are actually open to those interactions. This has been mentioned earlier that on average we actually check our phone between 150 and 170 times a day, and that's a lot. And we do different things while doing that. We wake up and switch off our alarm clock and quickly scan the news or see if what our friends wrote to us on social media. And then as we go to work, we might use maps because we just want to figure out whether there's traffic along the way, and we don't want to be stuck in that traffic. And then as we have a break at work, we try to see what's up in the cinema. We may book some tickets. When we may figure out what's the next restaurant that we want to go to in the evening to meet with our friends. There's a lot of different moments. There's a lot of different interactions. Some of them are very kind of intimate and personal, and the brands shouldn't really, these are the moments when people don't really want to be disturbed and don't want the brands to communicate with them. At the other time, or at the other times, there are those moments where they look for a specific type of information and they look for answers, they look for solutions, and these are the opportunities where different brands can actually come in and help those customers answer their questions, solve their problems. So at a high level, we really divide those moments into 4 categories. There are those I want to know moments when I'm simply looking for information on a specific topic. There are those I want to go moments where I'm trying to figure out how to best get from one place to another, or where to go. Say I'm in Ljubljana and I'm trying to figure out what are the nice restaurants. I can look for reviews, but I can also just go on the I can just go into the maps and open up and see what are the restaurants nearby and see what reviews they have, and based on that make a decision where I'm going to go. There are those I want to do moments. If you browse YouTube, there's more and more videos recorded by different people and businesses as well around how to do certain things, right? And these are again opportunities. Basically, you can become helpful in that moment and help the consumer do something. And then there are those I want to buy moments where people basically are ready to make a purchase decision and are looking just for the best deal or the best place where they can actually go and do that. So what does it mean for the small businesses? What do they need to do in order to really succeed in those market moments? Well, first of all, they need to be there. They need to acknowledge the fact that those micro moments exist and they make a deliberate effort to be with the customers in those moments. Then the other thing is they need to be useful, right? If you want to engage with somebody, you have to engage with them in the context of their search, in the context of the moment that they're in, and really do something that is useful for them, help them solve their problem. Be quick, right? This means that poor quality websites that are complicated, where the path to purchase requires you to make 20 clicks along the way, that just won't work. People will leave and people are likely not to come back. And then really connect the dots. So be aware of the fact that some of the activity that you will be driving online is going to be impacting your offline business as well. So if we look into some of the details and talk about so what can be done to really be there for the end users. First of all, consumers aren't brand committed very often. We actually see that 51% of smartphone users have discovered a new company product while conducting search on the smartphone. And actually, a lot of that happened when people were actually not looking for the brand of those devices. So being there and advertising not only on very specific very brand specific categories, but actually going more general is a way for you to become to be discovered for the small businesses. And actually, being there helps you increase the brand awareness, and that then translates to actually customers, well, first of all, becoming aware of that you as a shop are present somewhere, or you as a business are present somewhere, and then that then helps you further down the line actually bring in more customers and bring in more business. Now, being more useful, what do we mean by that? Well, first of all, if the information that you are providing is completely irrelevant for the consumer, they are not going to come back. They are just not going to to interact with you in any way. So if you make the effort to really communicate with the customers, be smart about it, because if you do not deliver the right message at the right time, they will just be gone, and they will not really want to interact with you as a business. Now, let's maybe move to the be quick, because this is actually quite important in the context of what you do with the services that you provide for your customers. I know that a lot of the small businesses are very reluctant to make investments in mobile websites, in responsive websites, in modern digital marketing, digital presence. And today and during the past few days, I'm sure you heard a number of vendors, a number of platform providers talk to you about their solutions that can be really used to offer modern digital marketing presence for those businesses. And this is important because if your customers don't have a good mobile presence, and we know that majority of, or more and more of the traffic is actually coming from mobile, then if the websites are not really loading fast enough, customers will leave. They will leave immediately. They will switch to a different website. They will switch to a different application, and very often they will never come back. Right? So that is basically, and then the consequence of this is going to be your customers will come and tell you that, oh, we don't really want to invest in digital marketing presence. We don't want to invest in certain SEO. We don't want to invest in social media, in search marketing, because it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work because, well, it's not that for them, that it doesn't work means we're not actually selling more, we're not getting more customers. But then the reason, very often, is not going to be the fact that the things that you do for the customers don't work. It's just that the website that they have, the place where you actually drive the customers at the end of the day, is just not good enough. And it's putting customers off, and customers just decide to move on and buy from the competition of those businesses. So first of all, what I mentioned earlier, the path to purchase has to be very simple. So if you are able to eliminate the steps, if you're able to offer websites that are simplified, that are easy to use, then do that. And you will see that that this will translate into better results for the customers, and it will translate with them being more confident that the services that you're providing for them actually are good quality services, and that they will stay with you longer. Now, the last thing in the micro moment area is connecting the dots. It's really being aware and being able to demonstrate to the customers that their consumers purchase across the screens, right? It very often happens that people start searching on one device and then they move on to the NAT. So I start searching on the smartphone, I then move on to continue my search on the tablet, and then I very often make a purchase on a desktop, right? There's more and more solutions coming in that actually allow you to track those cross-device conversions. This in turn allows you to actually optimize the campaigns for your customers better, because you can then see which of the devices, you can see how each of the devices actually perform, and then you can tune your campaigns. You can actually set individual bidding strategies for tablets, for desktops, for mobile. And yes, I think that was the main topic, the main point here. And we were talking about measuring across the screens. So the other thing is measuring across the channels, right? So I talked about this earlier. Consumers very often search for information on mobile, or they just do research before going to the store, and then they make the final decision, the purchase decision in store as well. So be aware of that, and be aware that your customers should be aware of this. That the fact that they don't immediately see conversions on their websites, and while they have a physical store location, doesn't mean that the activities that you're doing for them, the work that you're doing for them is really driving business for them. So now the last thing that I wanted to talk about was maximizing the lifetime value of SMB customers. So some of the topics that were mentioned earlier were on the fact that, oh, the margin on this product is this much, and the margin on that product is that much. Margin on individual products is great, and being aware of how much you make on each of the individual products is important. But then at the same time, there's this concept of that's probably not unfamiliar to you, of customer lifetime value, and of the fact that sometimes it is actually worth making an investment and to acquire a customer with products that are less profitable, but then either cross-sell or sell them a bundle of products which actually allows you to actually grow the lifetime value of that customer over time. The other thing is we see from our work that as customers grow their spend or invest in multiple products, they are likely to stay with the businesses longer, which again, the customer lifetime calculation has two simple things, right? It's the value of the spend that the customer generates on ongoing basis, and then the time actually that they spend making those investments, right? So both of those things are important. What can you do about that? First of all, drive smart acquisitions. I think there was a question earlier today, I think the lady who asked it actually left, like, should we acquire all customers or should we actually do something different? Well, be smart about who you acquire. First of all, analyze your current and past customers to basically see what patterns can be observed in terms of how long have they stayed with you, how much they have spent, and look at other characteristics. And once you figure that out, then focus on really focus your acquisition efforts on the customers that are more likely to be profitable for you over a longer period of time. Understanding your cost is no-brainer. Understanding how much it costs you to actually acquire new customers, and also understanding how much does it cost you to retain some customers. It was mentioned earlier today as well that some of the business decided actually to fire some of their customers, and it does make sense. It makes sense to get rid of the customers, of serving customers that are simply not profitable for you. But you need to, in order to understand that, you need to look at, what is the value that those customers generate for you over a period of time and how much actually it costs you to work with them. And then focusing on the lifetime value of the customers is something that I mentioned earlier. I know that we are very tight on time, so I think I will finish here already. Yeah.
Why don't you take the factors impacting customer tenure?
Sure. Okay. We can cover that one. So, as I mentioned earlier, the customer lifetime value is really the product of the value of the individual products that you sell to them and their profitability and the profitability of each of those products, and then the tenure, or so how much the customer actually does stay with you. So we did a lot of research around what makes customers stay and what are the things that actually get customers to leave early. And we saw that the first and the most important thing that customers care about is the overall cost and the return on investment that they get, or the quality, basically the performance of the things that you do for them. Now, their perception of whether you did a good job or not is a consequence of the work that you did and the expectations that you have set, or your salespeople have set up front while talking to those customers. So being aware of that and making sure that while driving sales, the expectations are set correctly, and then the right products are being offered to the customers. Products that help customers be present in all of the channels that we talked about earlier, be present in those micro moments and really deliver the answers that the customers are looking for. Then customer relationship and satisfaction, that is also something that seems quite obvious, but not everybody is really monitoring that or tracking that. Funny enough, there are actually some partners of ours who choose not to ask their customers if they're satisfied or not. That's not something that we recommend. Actually, knowing whether your customers are happy or not is the right thing to do. And then the cycle of sales, and knowing, actually having it structured in a way that it's not like a 1 year interaction with the customer that you sell them something in month 1 and then 12 months later you come in and you actually sell them something again. With digital marketing products, with digital presence, there is so much changing constantly that staying in touch with those customers, informing them about what is happening with their campaigns, what is happening what are the results of their campaigns, and then recommending changes, recommending improvements to their investment strategies. is something that you want to do, and actually this allows you then to stay in touch with the customers through like more often, and then this this does improve your customer retention overall. So I'm going to quickly scan through those three things. So like the three kind of key takeaways from what I was talking about. The first one is embrace the multi-channel path to purchase, right? Things are not really linear anymore. They are complicated. The other thing is, offer your SMB advertisers holistic digital packages to capture every micro moment, right? So it's not only about, oh, we'll just sell you a search campaign, or we'll just sell you an SEO, or we'll just sell you a website. It's about the holistic approach. And then the last one is really identify and maximize lifetime value of your SMB customers. So be aware of the fact that different customer types will have different spending patterns, will have different value to you. Really, first of all, identify that, and then look for ways to optimize it through smart acquisitions of the right types of customers that are right for your business. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you for giving this oversight of the micro moments and how people spend their days. So, who has questions for Maciek? If you think about it, let me ask you a question. So, you know a lot of the directories in Europe, and you have these levers, how to improve the profitability. What do you think, knowing the directories, is the one where they will find the most profit? So which of all the things that you said, all the products and the moments, where is the biggest lever for when you talk to your partners, when you're looking at your partners?
Yeah, so first of all, we're looking at a mix of products, and we're always suggesting our partners that, if you look across your portfolio, the things that you sell, it tends to be that your own products have slightly higher profitability than the third-party products. But then what is important to remember is that some of the third-party products, like search advertising, actually enable you to sell other solutions that are kind of your own solutions that are more profitable for you.
So you're saying keep in mind the ones that are not that profitable, and then sell other products that are more profitable because you are selling the low profitable products.
In a way, yes. I think the example that Solka was presenting earlier was a very interesting one, because actually it showed that this is exactly how you can do it. So they if you look at the vertical approach that they took, and if you look at the products that they were offering, there was a range of products that were their own products, directory listing, voice services, and a bunch of other things. And then they were bundled with, and for sure these are high profitability products because they are the own products. And then you saw that they actually bundled all of them with web presence, with responsive websites, with search marketing, because these are the things that people look for information online, but then they start with the search engine. So that should really be the integral part of all the packages. But then you just create an offer that is a holistic offer. It's not a standalone product, or today I'm going to sell you this, today I'm going to sell you that. It's coming in with, dear customer, from this vertical, here is an end-to-end solution that we have for you. And this is how it's going to work.
Okay, we have a question.
Yeah, so what advice would you give to publishers who are struggling with advertiser retention, who sell a lot of different products, but have difficulty with retaining their advertisers on the digital side?
Yep.
And many times in the paid search in particular.
Okay, so we did a study which actually where we analyzed what are the key reasons.
Let me clarify.
Yeah.
If you had one top piece of advice to give, not a list of things to do, one piece of advice.
To drive customer retention, I would tell them to improve customer retention for publishers. I would say sell them a product that is going to deliver what they expect that it's going to deliver. And I know that this sounds very generic, but actually the thing is, I don't know how you sell. Meaning, I don't know how does your sales process look like. From the partnerships that we have and from the research that we did, we know that mismanaging customer expectations and not really doing a good job around reporting and letting the customers know what is the result of the work that you do for them. These are the main reasons for customers to leave.
Okay.
Because businesses will want to stay if they see the value of the investments that they make. And if they don't see the value of the investments, then either they misunderstood what they have been sold, or the results are not there, but then that's something that needs to be looked into in detail.
We're going to do the questions during lunch. No, sorry, we need to, but the good thing is, Maciek will be here during lunch, so, and probably everybody is. So, thank you very much for this elaborate presentation.